Okay, here we go. So now I'm ready to start the actual audio feed. So, okay, there's the. Okay, so here we go. So I'm going to say three, two, and one. Welcome or welcome back, everyone, to another exciting episode of Aaron's Opinion, the podcast for blind people where we speak about critical issues in the blindness community and all other issues from across the universe and galaxy. Let's go over to Belgium today. You, I believe, are my first Belgian guest ever here on Aaron's Opinion. So, welcome. I understand that your name is Sarah. And you are blind, and I understand that you are originally, I believe, from Morocco, but I've come to learn that you have a podcast and a YouTube of your own, and that you have a lot of interest in many different areas. So I do admit and confess to you that I don't know much about you, Sarah, but it seems like, based on how readily you came to Aaron's opinion, it seems like you have a lot to share with us today. So, who is Sarah? To walk through your life story if you want, and tell us about all of your interests in podcasting and YouTube and everything. So I'll just mute my microphone and let you talk for a few minutes. Really, I'll give you a good part of the conversation here. So go tell us who you are, what's going on. Go right ahead.
I have recording of a podcast about criminology and psychology, the who, the what, the why, and the how about criminology. I will dive deeper in the minds from criminals. I will not only say they are monsters, more about the minds, and I will check only on my past about some trauma therapies like EMDR therapy, and I'm check on the spiritual thing. A very spiritual being, and I see why they have done an spiritual thing. But the podcasts are not clear, and I have a podcast from psychology, from trauma therapies, and indeed, I am from Morocco, and I am fly. I'm fly to Belgium when I was 5. There was a family problem with my father and my uncle about me. And that was not so nice. It is always with me. And um, when that problem was growing bigger and bigger, my father was doing not so nice, and that is the thing that I'm going to make the podcast about criminology and psychology. My father had doing some psychological thing that not so is not so nice, and yeah, that is the thing that we must go with through Belgium, and the learning from the language and from the culture from Belgium was a big problem for me. But it go well, but it is always uh, a difficult thing for me. And that was the thing that made me very spiritual and very high sensitive. When I was in Belgium, I feel very highly feeling from other people. When my father deceased, like my father was away. He was not all away, and some things changed in me on spiritual. My feelings are really high, and I think only can you make some things out? My English is not so okay.
That is fine. I understood you, and I do have some follow-up questions for you, Sarah, to help us to understand a little bit more of your background. So, let me just ask you this because, in all honesty, I did not understand. I did not quite understand what you meant. I think that I, I think what's going on here is either, and I need a clarification. Are you someone who is very interested in criminology, psychology, and spirituality? And so, because of that, you listen to podcasts within those areas? Or did you create your own podcast where you, Sarah, talk about criminology, psychology, and your spiritual journey? Could you tell me a little bit more and clarify that for me?
Also, I listen very much documentaries on YouTube, and I have follow lessons from criminology and psychology. And under this hint, I have the idea to create a podcast about criminology and psychology. And on
Right.
my spiritual journey,
So you've watched a lot of content regarding to criminology and psychology. Is that true?
yes,
Okay, thank you. And so have you started your own podcast where you, Sarah, talk about criminology and psychology?
yes,
Yes, you did. Okay, thank you. Thank you. So, in that case, I can say very good. Thank you for the clarification. In the podcast space, part of having a conversation is clarifying and being clear about things. So that's totally understandable. So now, since you started your podcast regarding to the topics of criminology and psychology and spirituality, um, tell me what is so interesting for you when you think about criminology and criminals, and what is so interesting for you about psychology, the way we think, and your spiritual journey. So try to break down maybe some
I
ideas that you have or some experiences you've had to make it a little bit more to paint the picture for the listener so that the listener can understand your experience where you're coming from in those in those studies. So talk about it a little bit more, break it down a little bit more. Sure.
I think always what is go on in the mind from some criminal have they have this kind of dream that he will come true to to kill or to such other bad things, and he think that's okay, but don't realize it. He can more in a psychological thing or more in the spiritual mind. It's a mind and madness. You're in a spiritual way, like the dark spiritual way that I now clarify or try to clarify, and the more light spiritual way. I hope uh you understand.
Right. Sure. Sure. So I think what it is you are interested why when people are unwilling to follow the laws of society, right? You want to know, you're trying to figure out, is it because there's something wrong with their psychological makeup? Is it something going on in their mind? Or you're also wondering, is it something wrong with their spirit, right? Is that what you're wondering?
Correct.
That's a very, very good thing to wonder. And I like the way that you responded so clearly to me there. Yes, that is totally fine. You know, Sarah, I think that there are some people, my opinion, now my academics are in the field of international relations. I did not study criminology, nor psychology, nor theology. But I would say if I were to classify people throughout history, especially very prolific criminals who did very heinous crimes, I would say that those people who commit heinous crimes where they hurt people or hurt children or hurt animals or or hurtful people, those people have problems with all of those areas. They have problems understanding and adhering to the civil laws of society, right? They also have issues dealing with their own psychological health, their own mental health, in some cases, not all, but in many. And yes, to some intellectual way, I think that there are some people who also have their soul, their spirit has some sort of issue as well. Yeah. So Sarah, can you tell me a little bit more about your background? I mean, if you don't mind me asking, I just need to kind of understand a little bit more about where you're coming from. Do you, hold a university degree in psychology or criminology or theology? What types of things have you studied about these topics, by the way?
I have studied criminology and psychology. Um, uh, it's about that I was flying from Morocco, and my father had do not some uh things that okay was. He has hurt my mother and me and my brother several times, and me as a child have seen very yeah, unnice things. And I was thinking why
Okay.
and that kind of things.
Okay.
And I will do something that would
Now I'm understand now. Okay. Thank you, Sarah. I'm understanding you better. So you kind of said, and for the listener at home, um, I have always noticed that people from Morocco have a very beautiful way of speaking. I've noticed that you have a very distinctive way of speaking. I've always noticed. Yeah, that's okay. No worries. So unfortunately, I think what you said is when you were growing up, your father hurt you physically several times, right?
yes.
I'm very sorry to hear that, Sarah. It's very, very saddening. And you were wondering what was his problem, right? You were wondering intellectually, why did he make that choice, right?
My father, when I have no, don't know him so long. When I
Right.
was 5, he was diseased himself. He was taking drugs, overdose. But
Oh my.
yeah, it it was not so much. But yeah, as he always done is done. It's very
Hmm.
hard. It's very cruel. But it's more in the mental. He have hurt me much, and my mother. And my when
Understood.
it's
Understood.
done,
Right, right. So you would say that certainly you would say that the mental damage from his behavior um outweighs the physical bruises or the physical damage, right?
yes,
Yeah, yeah. I completely understand what you mean. And fortunately, I was never physically abused, but I have also had some emotional traumas in my life that are not comparable to your trauma. but I know exactly what you mean. Sometimes these these emotional wounds, these things that hurt our feelings or our character or our demeanor or our sense of self and spirituality, those wounds don't ever get better. And I know exactly what you mean by that. Yeah. That's that's too bad. Yeah. Well, it sounds like, unfortunately, it sounds like as you were depicting, it sounds like although your father hurt you, sadly, it also sounds like he had a very sad life too. It sounds like he had challenges in his own life, right? If he made the choice to use drugs and then to hurt people,
Yeah,
that's never okay. But
no.
but when you look at it intellectually, you also have to think, well, he also tragically had a hard life too, or else he wouldn't have made those bad choices. Do you sort of see what I mean?
Yeah, and I know what you meant. And I think also I was a child when he done that. And think what his challenge was and what he done wrong. He was a good man in himself. He have a good heart, but he have the wrong friends. And if you have the wrong friends, then it cause a lot of damage for yourself, but all for your family and from the people around you. And that was what's happened with my father and with my family and with myself.
Yeah, that's too bad. That's too bad. So what part of Morocco did you grow up in? Like what was the city called? Was it like Rabat, Marrakesh, Casablanca, Agadir, Tangier, Fez? Like what part of the country?
In the Rift Mountains, I don't know the name of the town anymore.
Okay, I understand. I understand. But so you grew up kind of in the countryside in Morocco, right? Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah. Yeah, that's very. So what can you tell me about that town, Sarah? Was it a beautiful place to grow up?
it was a very nice place, and everyone know each other.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it was very nice. I have
Hmm.
not more so much memories, but
Right.
well, from from aunt, and every weekend she took me to my mother back. It was the food was also delicious, very others than the Belgian foods.
Hmm. Right. Right. Sure. Sure. Yeah. Yeah. So, if I were to ask you a question, I think this would be kind of an interesting thing. I think you have a very interesting answer for me. So, looking at Moroccan society as a whole, you are the first Moroccan person to be on Aaron's Opinion, I believe. We do have a Tunisian friend and a an Algerian friend here at Aaron's Opinion. Not here presently in the studio, but you know what I mean in our community groups on WhatsApp and Facebook and things. But I haven't really gotten to, as we say in English, pick the brain and learn from a Moroccan before. So this is a great opportunity for all of us to learn from each other today, Sarah. So what can you tell me about the Moroccan people as a whole, like having nothing to do for a moment, stepping away from your father's poor behavior and poor choices, stepping away from that, what can you tell me regarding to the makeup of Moroccan people and the nation of Morocco as a whole? How would you paint the picture?
I don't know so much anymore. I'm sorry.
I understand. So, Sarah, when did you leave Morocco to come to Belgium?
There was a sad thing about my father and my uncle. My
Okay.
uncle was a bad guy. I'm so sorry that I say that, but he was a bad guy. And he said, if you not live with a blind, yeah, the blind child, I will uh give you something that you live with your blind child and her brother. And he did something very wrong with my own brother.
Oh my
Uh,
gosh.
and it
Oh.
was not nice.
Ah. So not only
Sorry.
No, no. This is Aaron's opinion is for adults only. This is marked as explicit for a reason. We need to talk about these things. That's fine. I'm sorry that happened. This is ridiculous. So you're saying just to make sure I'm following the story here, this sounds like a very this is interesting. So not only was your father abusive and not well, but it sounds like his brother or your uncle also had some issues, right?
And yeah, I think one. And my uncle, very, um, yeah, I found it interested, was in 2023 also go to Belgium and he was there arrested.
Hmm. Can you explain it again? I didn't quite understand what you said about Belgium. Can you try to explain in a different way?
Okay, that's right. My uncle was in 2023 also fly to Belgium and he was there arrested. But we don't know why and how it came that he was in prison.
Oh. Okay. So in 2023, it sounds like your uncle left Morocco,
Yes,
arrived in Belgium, correct?
yes, correct.
Okay. And then at some point during his journey in Belgium, at some point it sounds like he committed a crime and went to jail, right?
Yes, we have only read in the newspaper that he was a kind of cocaine crime.
That he was a what crime? A what?
So much with cocaine.
Like something about drugs, substances,
Yes,
something about that?
yes, the cocaine. We know it's coke.
Yeah, yes, 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 yes. Oh boy. Okay. Well, I see. It sounds like I think you're doing great. Hopefully you are not in contact with these people today, right? Hopefully you're not in contact with your father or your uncle, right?
No.
Luckily not. That's good. That's good. Okay. Now, Sarah, I was born blind with glaucoma. Can you tell me how you became blind?
I think maybe two. I maybe I like with it. I think LCA, labor congenital amaurosis. That is how the nerves in my eye are stuck or sick or past two, I think. And my mother think also that my father, before I was born, also used drugs and it's an input on my eye. But I will not think about it. I think it's impossible. Or not.
Huh. So the theory is that you were born with an eye disease that could have been caused by your father's drug use before you were born. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Yeah. The answer is I don't know, Sarah. I don't know one way or the other if that's possible. So I don't know. It could be, may possibly. I mean, it is. I mean, I don't know. It would depend. The fact is, so basically, you were born blind then, right? You were born not being able to see, right?
That's right.
Right, right. And unfortunately, one of the challenges that my both my Algerian friend and Tunisian friend have told me is sadly when you grow up in the Maghreb in northern Africa, medical care is very difficult to arrange. Even the simplest of procedures can be a very daunting experience in those countries, right? Yeah.
Yes.
So it wasn't really clear, but okay. Well, so how long did you live in Morocco before you came to Belgium?
5 years.
Oh, okay. So and I'm 33 years old. How old are you?
I'm now 24.
Are you 24 years old?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay. So basically, you really have no real memory of Morocco, right?
Yes, it was too, I
Yeah.
was too little.
Little. We would say little. You were too little, you were too young to really fully remember. Right. Right. I see.
Yes.
That's too bad. Yeah. Well, the people, well, then again, it's good that you left that environment, obviously, but too bad in the sense that people have told me that Morocco is an incredibly beautiful country. Actually, let me just make sure one thing here. Let me just bring in. We do have someone just came into the studio. They'll be muted, don't worry, but it's the South Africa office of Aaron's Opinion just came into the studio maybe. But that is a deeply interesting thing. So then basically, um, welcome, young lion. Please, at this moment, please mute your microphone, and I will unmute you at the end. I actually forgot to do that when I came in today. I wanted to, yeah, please mute, yeah, mute your mic. Um, I wanted to dive into the conversation today with Sarah, but we'll definitely let you ask a question towards the end, as always. So yeah, Sarah. So basically. Yeah, you're fine. You're fine, man. No worries. So basically, Sarah, you're basically then like a Belgian person. You're basically Belgian. You basically grew up in Belgium, right?
Yes.
Right. So you're a Belgian of Moroccan descent, but most of your experience in growing up has been being a blind person in Belgium, right? Is that a fair to say?
A little of Moroccan, a little of Belgium also.
Okay. But let me ask you this. Let me phrase it this way. Since you left Morocco at the age of 5, have you been back to Morocco much?
No, but
Oh,
maybe I have planned to do this well.
right. Okay. So let's kind of transition to another topic, and then I'll kind of circle back to something you said about criminology and psychology and things like that. But so yeah, what can you tell me about going through the Belgian school system and getting an education in Belgium? Obviously, you did well to go to university and things. So talk about that for a bit. What has been your experience dealing with Belgian education?
First, I was learned the Netherlands language, and it was very ridiculous. And then I was sent for a boarding school for the blind and visual impaired people. But she have said, yeah, Sarah, that's CLB. I don't know which is a metaphor, but there was a woman, and she said, Sarah can for a school that only sighted people can. And it was 6 months that I was sent in for this kind of school. And from the pressure, from the bullying that the the children took on me, I have become epilepsy. And my mother was thinking that I have some weird um lose on memories. And to the neurologist give me high medication, and I was 2.5 years. I was 10 of age, going a couple of years later, to my 12 years and 6 months in a rehabilitation center, and that was really okay and not okay.
Huh.
Not okay. I was pulling my white pupils. My pupils on my eyes are not black, they are white. And okay, yeah, the educators were okay.
Right. So I think what you were saying was that you started to go to maybe a school for the blind in Belgium. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And then I think you were saying that when you were a girl, the other children bothered you and bullied you and were mean and unkind, right?
That's later. There was
That
a woman, and she said to the educators and to the teachers Sarah is too smart for this school. We send her to the school for sighted people.
Okay. So you excelled so much at the school for the blind there in Belgium that they wanted you to attend school with other sighted pupils, other sighted
Yes,
students. Yes, okay. Okay. And so at what age did you go to the school with sighted children? How old were you, Sarah?
I was 9.5 years old.
I understand you. Okay. So, and what was your experience once you got to this school with other sighted children? What happened?
First, they was very okay to me, but then she has hit me in the face and they have with some um, things that hang on a tree stuck in my eyes, and yeah, they were mentally hit me, and then I can no more. And my mother saw me eat so much chocolate. She threw me when I said, yeah, chocolate is good for depression. And she saw me a half hour crying. And
Oh
my
boy.
first epilepsy attack, she saw that.
Oh
And
my. Oh
she,
my.
she brought in a neurologist and
Hmm.
she said, this is not okay. What is it? And the neurologist said, yeah, the school give too much pressure and the teachers they took too much pressure. She locked me up in the classroom for an hour ago
Right,
and I
right,
was
yeah.
going away.
I see.
Maybe.
So just to make sure, just to recap, just to make sure, because I need to make sure that I'm understanding the storyline here. So it sounds like that you were bullied so severely at the school with the sighted children that you developed epilepsy and other neurological issues from the harassment, right?
Yes, correct.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, Sarah. Well, Sarah, I just want to say thank you for having the courage within yourself to come talk to a stranger like me, like on this podcast. Like you don't really know me. I mean, we know each other from the WhatsApp group that we joined, but it says everything about your character that you're willing to talk to just some person about these things. It's deeply impressive, and that's a very encouraging sign about your resilience as a human being, that you're going to be okay, that you've kind of decided to be successful in life and to make better choices, and to not, obviously, to not use drugs and to not abuse people and to not have these problems. But you are right. It is telling how you ate chocolate, and is a lot of studies that do say that there are reasons why we eat certain things when we do, and that when we eat chocolate, it can be because it's delicious. Chocolate, in my opinion, does have some may have some medical benefits, in my opinion. Such as there's some studies that say that chocolate might and may be good for the organs from time to time, good for the bloodstream from time to time. Chocolate is, uh, by the way, because you're Moroccan, are you Muslim?
No, I'm only spiritual.
Oh, the reason I was going to ask that is that much of the Moroccan population are do
Then
happen to be
they are
Muslim people.
Muslim, yeah,
Yeah.
and that was the reason that my uncle said that I was going away. But
Okay, let's
yeah,
let's hold on, Sarah. Okay,
yeah,
let's rewind the tape for a minute, so I can pick this up. So your uncle was obviously your relative, right? So obviously your family are Muslim people. Is that true?
from my father's side,
I see. Okay, so your father's side are Muslim, and what about your mother's side?
my mother's side, they are unbelievable. Only I am spiritual, but it's not a kind of belief, I think.
So I guess, okay, that is very, I mean, if you don't mind me telling you this, that is in my opinion, that's unusual regardless, but that's very unusual for Moroccan people, right? So I think what you said was that your mother's side of the family are people who just don't have any religion. They're just like, nah, they aren't interested in it or like that.
Yeah, my mother is originally from Belgium, from here, and she know my father from a holiday in Morocco, and she stayed there, and that is the reason that I am from Morocco.
Okay. Right. Right. Yeah, I see. I see. Well, the reason why I'm bringing all this up is to go back to the chocolate, to circle back to the chocolate thing. Chocolate is also similar to wine. There's believe it or not, the cocoa plant where chocolate comes from, also, as you know, wine, as we say in my French, which I know you don't speak, but as we say, le vin, actually comes from grapes, which are in some ways similar to cocoa. So oftentimes people who are sad will also drink wine too. So I'm just curious about that. Yeah, that's all very, very, very interesting for sure. Yeah. Okay. All right. All right. So, okay. So where we are, so you were so severely bullied at this school with sighted children, right? That you started having other health problems, these seizures and these other neurological problems. So then what happened after you discovered the epilepsy? Why don't you pick up the story from there? Then what?
Um, yeah, once I'm done, she sent me to another boarding school after the rehabilitation for the blind and partially sighted, but I standing very, very after with my lessons, and every year I have the same lesson, and I have said to some teacher, this is not nice, and I started feeling the feeling that I was locked in an inner side cage. And that is the reason that I was search for other lesson material, like
Right,
psychology.
right. So you weren't being challenged. The sighted professors were not willing to challenge you at this school, right?
Yes, that
Hmm.
is the reason.
That sounds, I'm pleased that you're telling me this because this sounds vaguely familiar. In other words, this happens in America to me too. That there are some sighted people who are ignorant and refuse to challenge people with disabilities. That is a very deep form of discrimination that is very subtle but very, very serious. Yes. And I believe that all people need to be challenged and deserve to be challenged, and that if you're not being challenged, something is wrong. So school should be a little bit difficult because it should be a little bit challenging. Right, Sarah? Okay. So after you kind of came to this notion and this discovery, how did you combat this problem? How did you kind of take the bull by the horns and start preparing yourself for the matriculation and university? What steps did you take?
I was listening some podcast about criminology, and I was
Okay.
thinking,
Okay.
if she did my notice,
That's an
I
entertaining answer. So
yeah,
to combat
that's
the problem, you started researching criminal. That's an interesting answer. You started researching criminals, right? Yeah.
yeah, it was a great challenge. I was give myself
Right.
lessons about criminology. And
Okay.
she said it, the teachers, and she said, yes, Sarah, go back to our lessons. And and I say, no, you give me not lessons, I give myself higher lessons.
Th- There you. Well done. I completely. That's incredibly good. And then, how angry did she get? Did she just storm off, or what did she do when you said that?
Yeah, some in the nature, yes.
Somewhat and what? Somewhat.
Some in the nature that I have done. And that is the reason or what I have experienced that I was starting with lessons, criminology, and psychology. It
Okay.
was too much. Also, in the boarding school in the living room. She has locked me more times up in my bedroom for
Oh
a
my
couple of
gosh.
hours, and she has locked up the windows.
Oh, Sarah. So basically you were basically just to make sure just to make sure I'm comprehending this and internalizing this the right way. Basically every stage of your life you were abused at some point, right?
I think mentally well.
I mean, am I understanding you well? Were you basically, it sounds like you were abused at each stage of life, right? Correct?
Yes.
Oh my. That is very interesting and sad and bizarre and wow. So at this boarding school thing, surely did you speak to your mother about these problems that you were facing at this school?
Oh yes.
What did she
Several
do?
times. Several times. I give some example. We was going to a barbecue, and I speak to my mother and stepfather in 2018, and my stepfather have seen the tears in my eyes, and he has seen on my arms
Right.
some some blue uh
Some
things.
bruises
Yes,
we say, right?
and he said, "Well, yes, Sarah, it's nothing, but I see something on your arms and I see tears in your face, but stop the crying." And my mother was very direct, and she said, "Go to your bedroom."
So when you came home for holiday from the school and you told your stepfather and your mother about the abuse, did they believe you or did they not believe you?
They did not believe me, and that was the
They did not so okay. So they did not believe you, correct? They did not believe you, right?
correct.
Oh my God. Oh
But
boy. So then
those
what?
are some kind of people. They are not really busy with some mental things.
I get that part, and that's not unusual for people from different parts of the world to understand psychology differently. That part is forgivable, but the fact that they were unwilling to acknowledge your physical abuse, that is completely unacceptable and completely unforgivable that they treated you that way. Sarah, you're a very strong woman. Your soul is very bright and brilliant and strong. But I just have to be. May I be honest with you about something?
Yes,
I think your family. I really think that you come from a family where the family members that were around you were very weak and feeble and insecure people. Because if you're a strong person, you stand up to abuse and you acknowledge problems. It sounds like you came from a family where the members around you were weak and unwell people, is what it sounds like.
I think, well, like I give an example, my
Yeah.
mother is very insecure about herself from my deceased little brother and the death of my father. And if I hear her crying, I will give her always a hug and I will say, I am here for you. But she will, yeah, she go to angry state. I dare say nothing to her, but I will see in a kind of body language that I am there or always for her.
Hmm. So
But
it's
yeah,
like you tried to, right? So you oftentimes you tried to have a relationship with your mother, but she wasn't really able to have a relationship. Yeah. Yeah, that's too bad. Okay. So then you told your uncle, or rather, you told your stepfather and your mother about the the physical abuse, and they didn't believe you. So then from there, how did you proceed forward once you realized that they weren't going to be supportive? Then what?
Then I tried to tell my older brother this, but he don't leave me through.
Oh God.
And
What
I
is
was,
sometimes I have to wonder what is wrong. These these people you were around were just not the right people. Goodness. Okay. So you told your brother and your brother didn't believe it either. That is weird. Oh. Uh-huh.
mm,
And then what? Yeah.
I was making a diary,
You wrote a diary. Okay. Mm-hmm.
and it helps me well, but not not so long.
Mm-hmm.
And, and I was reading some books that made me more more secure and take me for this kind of things,
Mm-hmm.
more mental secure. And
Mm-hmm.
there was um a day that I was in my boarding school in my bedroom, and I was up. I was taking in the mental ravine, and yeah, in the depression, and that was a week um after that I told my stepfather and a warning my stepfather and mother and brother what is going on, the bullying on school, the educators they bullied me, and the teachers they bullied me. And I was standing at the window and I take my head out the window. But they said to me that I one good educator. One educator, they loved me. I jumped not and that he loved me. And I lay down by the window and I talked to him. And that was the moment that he got to a psychiatrist. And I was beginning with EMDR therapy. I don't know if you know EMDR therapy.
No, no. Can you go back and tell me a little bit more about that? Can you, yeah, let's review what that is. Sure. Yeah.
EMDR therapy is a therapy that people, person with post-traumatic stress syndrome, for
Mm-hmm.
example, are due for processing their trauma experience like sexual abuse, bullying, hard bullying, and always going with stress and mental, always mental pain, reprocessing. But this is a really hard trauma therapy. And it was going for years. From my 18 to my 21, I was going for trauma therapy, the EMDR therapy, and it was not easy. But I say myself always that I keep courage. Life is courage.
Yeah. Yeah. So can you tell me what they would do in a therapy session for this? Would they talk like what are the steps that go on in this particular therapy?
Yes. Normally with silent people, she talk first about the trauma, what has happened. I give an example. Maybe this is a hard example, but about some couple for funeral um incest, and then she goes to shining in the eye of the people. Then you go to the brain, and then uh, my uh, um, reprocessing you the um experience you this kind of incest that your body feel this, and then um the pain more down that you not constant feel the incest that is done to you. And
Hmm.
then
Hmm.
the last process of EMDR therapy is talking to the psychiatrist about it. But with me, there was something doing my hands that shivers in the left, right, in a kind of rhythm in place. What is shining a couple of lights in my eyes, and then the shivers go in my eyes. I hope it's understandable.
I think so. I think I need more knowledge about it myself. I'm not terribly familiar, but no, you explained it. I'll certainly learn about that. And that sounds so okay. So then at this point, you're obviously getting ready to take the matriculation exam. I'm taking a wild guess that in a society like Belgium, they would have a lot of bureaucracy and would have an exam to determine who to whom can go to the university. Is that true?
Yes,
Okay. So how did you pass the matriculation and then how did you get into the university in Belgium?
I am not in a real university. I was not able. It was too much of my amount traumas. I was not feeling well with what was done. It was a lot of questions that I was going with teams with my classmates. I was following lessons for psychology and criminology at home, and it was also nice.
Hmm. So I think it sounds like that you just started searching for knowledge in the field of criminology and psychology. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So, you did not complete a university degree, and that's okay. Not everybody should go to university. Not everybody can, and there can be a wide range of reasons, right, Sarah? Just like you were explaining, if you have a variety of health problems, university is not a good fit, and I totally understand that. That's nothing to be ashamed of, and the fact that you took the time to educate yourself about the field of criminology and psychology to understand the trauma you went through shows a lot about who you are as a person. A very impressive individual for sure. No doubt about it. You're very impressive. Truly fascinating and truly touching. So tell me, what do you really think about our society? What do you think about criminals and what do you think about the study of criminology, the study of crime and society?
About criminology, it's a very hard, very dark study. The first, she gave me a couple of cases, and I myself, I'm beginning always thinking, why do they? And I think always the the person after the crime. That's also creepy thing to search about it, but I think I'm not always like a monster. They are not all monsters. Maybe there is um, a issue within or hair, like you all said a time ago.
Right, right. So you kind of learned through researching various criminal cases that some criminals are monsters and vicious people who go out of their way to be hurtful. And then you also learned that some other types of criminals basically commit, as we would say here in the States, are more of your criminal that, well, some of the other criminals are what we would call just people that have functioning problems. They're people that just make bad choices. They aren't necessarily a bad person, right? But they just make bad choices. They just do silly stuff and make bad choices. Is that what you found?
Yes, or
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
are born with brain problems or
Right.
traumatized for life.
Right. And this is becoming a big problem in the States is because we in American society, and I think you've looked into this, in America, we put people in jail for a lot of silly things, you know? And I'm going to give out my opinion. And again, the next sentence is my opinion. It's not a fact. I think, in my opinion, prison and jail should be reserved for people who are evil and vicious and monsters, like your father who abused you, for example.
Mm-hmm.
That's someone who belongs in an institutional setting. That's someone who deserves imprisonment, separation from society and the workings of modern mankind, right? That's someone who deserves that. The problem that we're having is a lot of people go to prison or jails for 6 months to a year for committing a relatively, as we would say in the English language, a relatively petty, if you know that word, a relatively petty offense, a silly little thing. Okay. You, I don't know. You go to the store and you get petty theft. You steal food or you steal a shirt or you sell a stolen item or something like that, or possession of stolen property. That's a big problem too. And then next thing you know, you're going to prison for a full year and a half. Well, two fundamental problems here. Number one, obviously, stealing is wrong. That's one problem. The second thing that's wrong is then you're sent to prison for a year and a half. And that's right because we have to prevent you from stealing. But the problem with that is then you're oftentimes traumatized by the other criminals who are in there for murdering people and molesting people and raping people. And this is a very, very big problem that there are many people who go to prison for a minor offense and come out abused and destroyed, and then they go back to committing crimes again. So it's a huge argument right now in the criminal justice system. um, and I don't know. I've never spoken on the podcast with anybody who has technically, I've spoken to a prison guard before in the past, but I have not spoken to anyone who was a former criminal who would, I try my best to not contact criminals. It's nothing personal, hey, people make choices. But I can tell you that prison causes a lot of problems for people. And the problem is that the person comes out of prison and they need care from their relatives. They aren't able to be sufficient again in society. What do you think about all that?
There is a lot of truth. It's an interesting idea. Well, the judgment here in Belgium, I see, well, is still like there that like I have three innocent people in place from the criminal in the prison, and if the criminal is setting free, for the example, then the he begin with much more hate, much more ideas for evil, like the first time he have never raped or never killed. He have do other more um um crime that not think not so painful, but the second crime is free from prison, and the prison have taken more ideas for pain. Then he began to rape women and kill others for the hate
Yeah.
for our country. And that is
Right.
the evil for our judgments.
Right. Yeah. And then everybody else suffers. Yeah. It's becoming, this is becoming a bigger and bigger problem. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Definitely. So, okay. So you researched all these things and you've become educated in this field. So then to circle all the way back to the beginning where you told me that you have a podcast. So then it sounds like, so did you create your own podcast where you talk about these various cases and you talk about these things? Is that true? Did you create a podcast and a YouTube channel?
Not a YouTube channel, but I busy with creating a podcast, and it is beginning with one case, the case of Albert Fish, and it is a huge creepy case. But this case for the little child was giving me the idea to create a podcast for psychology as well criminology and what has happened with me in the past.
All right. All right. Fine. Fine. So I think you just so I'm understanding, I think you're someone who has created a podcast where you'll basically kind of research various criminal cases throughout history and to understand how these things developed and happened. Is that right, Sarah?
Yes,
All right. Well, that's wonderful. And do you podcast in Dutch or in English?
in English. More people understand English. English is the world main language.
Right, right. Well, that's true. No, I just wondered because you're a Dutch speaker, and I wondered what you can tell me about your Dutch audience and things like that. So how many? But you're very right. The majority of the podcasts that are successful are English language podcasts, but not all of them. There are probably famous Dutch podcasters. I just don't know who they are, but I'm sure there are famous creators who broadcast in their own languages. So that's also great. Sure, sure. I think I would say that you should go back and forth. You should do some episodes in Dutch, in the Dutch language, and some episodes in English, so that you're able to capture both audiences and make sure that you're creating knowledge in both the Dutch language and the English language for people to research. So that's, super, super good. Yeah, yeah. All right. Well, how many episodes have you released of this podcast?
I have not released, but I am busy with recording some language. If I am trying good recordings, really good recordings with good background music, some music for the
Hmm.
beginning and the end, then I release all these recordings on Spotify, Deezer, and this kind of things platforms.
Wonderful, wonderful. So yeah, so you have to edit your podcast. The other thing I would like to share with you is generally speaking, when you research, criminology cases, and this is always a problem, you need to be very careful about what the facts are. You need to do a lot of research and make sure that you have, all the puzzle pieces together to build the case the right way, especially if the people mentioned in the case are still alive. This is a little less important, a little less prevalent if the people are long since passed away. But if they're alive, then you have to be more careful. You can definitely do it, Sarah. I'm not discounting it. You can definitely create. You can be a blind person uh, from Belgium who podcasts about criminology in English. You can do it. I'm not going to stop you at all, but I just want you to do it well and I want you to do it properly. And so to do it properly, you do need to spend more time on creating many episodes and you need to spend more time creating several episodes each month, but very, very well researched. You have to be really careful about the facts. Yeah. That's really interesting stuff. Cool, cool. There are so many cases that you can research. I don't want to name drop any channels that you should watch right now, but I'll certainly share one with you. Um, there's a lot. There is a particularly good channel. Okay, I remembered now. I'll send it to you later today. But there's a really great YouTuber who you should definitely watch. I'm sure you do watch it because they're utterly incredible at what they do to maybe give you some ideas, some cases to bounce off of. But no, true crime is a section of podcasting, so it can be done. Yeah, as long as you. The other thing is when you publish the content, whatever your provider, your hosting provider is, you have to you have to make sure that your content is in the category called, in English we would say, true crime. Okay, you have to make sure that you're categorized properly to be allowed to do that. But this is really cool stuff. Yeah. Okay. All right. So how do you spend your time each day? Do you just, you know do you just sit around and research crimes and all these happy things? Is this how you spend your time each day?
No, no,
Oh, oh, good,
no, no,
good.
no.
I hope you spend time doing things. Do you spend time doing anything positive, like eating chocolate with friends and just hanging out outside? Do you do that?
In the holiday chocolate, no, no,
Oh, okay,
no.
okay, okay. You quit. You kind of quit the chocolate habit, huh? You quit that.
Um,
Yeah.
the thing, most of all, I work here in a kind of institution for the blind and visually sighted, where I live. This is my
Okay.
living place. But some people here have some psychological disorders like
Okay.
autism, and
Uh-huh.
I care for them. I'm really
Wha-
uh, a
Oh,
careful
wow.
person.
Sarah, I am so happy to hear that. So after all this trauma after everything you've been through, you choose to help other people who deserve help. Is that true?
Yes, why not? There are
My
more
God.
people
My God.
they need
That's
more help than I.
you are going to be okay. I promise. I promise you're going to be okay. That is so good. I love that. Just just that's just doing the you just do the right thing. You just help other people, right?
Yes,
Wow. You are an example to other podcasters. We need to tell other people around here at Aaron's Opinion to be this helpful because that is that is incredible. Wow. I love that. So good. So wonderful. Um, I knew we would have a lot to talk about today, and I just cannot thank you enough for spending some time with us today. By the way, you're extremely good natured. I also want to say that your professionalism and your personality is incredibly tolerant to me asking you to repeat yourself and to explain things. I hope you understand it's nothing personal, but with your Belgian with your Dutch accent, it's you're able to explain things, but you have a lot of an accent, and it can be a little hard for most listeners to understand. So that's why I was having you recap and explain like that. But you were very humble about it and very good natured about that. You're setting an excellent you set an excellent example for other successful people to follow. Um, so Sarah, I we have a great buddy, a great friend to Aaron's Opinion, and a great friend to you in the community. His name is Latabo, and he's sitting in Pretoria, South Africa. He's a fellow broadcaster and contributor, oftentimes in the Aaron's Opinion community. Um, so, do you mind if he asks you some questions? Because I know he has questions. Are you comfortable with that?
oh, yes, it may.
Okay. All right, Latabo. His name is Latabo. Go ahead and unmute, man. I think let me pull down I think I can unmute.
Oh,
Uh, uh, uh,
okay.
Okay,
Yeah, I
go
just did
Latabo.
that. Okay. Well, first of all, guys, actually, when I heard this, like, I nearly cried because what Sarah said. Because, but I just shed a tear, but I didn't cry. But actually, the question is,
You know
like,
what? I started
um,
to I'm
yeah,
not I have the courage to admit that out loud. I started to I started to get emotional too when I heard all this. Yeah, me too. This is incredible. Sure, what's
yeah.
your question, man? Yeah.
Well, yeah. So the question is, because I heard as well that she has epilepsy, because I too do have epilepsy. Just that I didn't say that on the previous interview that I had with you, Aaron. But actually, back to the question I wanted to say. Well, the question is, I wanted to say is, like, what is it like when you experience that trauma? Because like it just like when I heard it, like, it was it's so emotional. So it really made me cry. So that's the question that I had.
I'm sorry, I heard not anything. You repeat, please, if you don't mind.
Yeah, here, maybe
No,
can you ask,
okay,
yeah, come a little closer to the microphone, the topo. And yeah, if you can maybe
okay,
say the question a little louder, a little slower. The signal's a little strange and
okay.
it's a little hard for her to understand the question. I didn't quite get the question either. So please try again.
Okay, no, it's fine. Okay, so I was saying, like, what was it like, experiencing that trauma that you had, like, since when you were growing up, especially like when it comes to like being bullied by sighted children when you were in the elementary school.
Oh, okay. If I am right, what is the experience that caused my trauma? Am I right?
Mm.
Yes, indeed. You
Yes,
are correct.
Okay.
yes.
Yes. There was some um more sexual abuse. My last boarding school when I was 16, 15,
Mm-hmm.
16, these 2 years, and physical, but I hear also about rape And I don't know, my mind is very high sensitivity on all these things. But when I was locked in the summer from the school, 5 boys have 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 have, have raped me whole night. And I've talked to the educators and to the direction from the boarding school, and she don't believe me.
Mm,
Yeah. Very sad. Very,
yeah,
very, very unfortunate.
it
Yeah.
is. It is. It is.
Yeah.
Well, but I just want to apologize though, like for asking that question because I didn't wanna like open any old wounds and all that stuff, you know. So just that like I didn't wanna actually I didn't mean to, but I'm just so fascinated about like
It is fast. No, Latabo,
yeah,
I think you're fine. I think that she understood why you were
yeah,
asking, and I think it was genuine. But it is very interesting. But like I was saying, Latabo, the most interesting part is how Sarah now chooses to be helpful and
mm,
just simply chooses to make, the simple fact that she has chosen to make the right choice says everything.
yeah,
So her making the right
no,
choice, it certainly does not undo the damage, but it certainly puts her in moving
yeah,
in the right direction spiritually. And that's a very distinctive and a very subtle thing. So very good.
yeah,
Very good. Excellent. All right.
yeah.
Thank you, Latabo. I think it's good if we kind of leave it
That's
there.
fine.
And so Sarah, anyway, um, back to your beautiful podcast, which I would like to learn from you about these cases you're researching. This is going to be a lot of fun. So, Sarah, when do you think we would be able to listen to the opening episode of this podcast? Because I would love to listen to one of these episodes, you know?
I don't know. I will not any mistake in my podcast search from background music. I would not any mistake in my when I say about any
Mm-hmm.
case.
Right.
I can not happen this.
Right, right. Maybe maybe do you think you'll have any interesting sponsors for your podcast? Maybe you'll want to I can't resist. Maybe you'll have like maybe a chocolate company can sponsor the podcast because people will need to eat chocolate while they listen to these depressing stories. I think I think you need to figure out the chocolate story first. So first you need to research the chocolate. Then you can research the criminals.
Oh my god. I never forget the story. Chocolate is good for depression. 9-year-old girl.
I see. I see. Well, I think that's going to be really amazing when we're able to learn from you in the podcast space. I think you have everything to offer, and I think you have an incredible story of strength and wisdom that I think more people need to learn from. So this is really deeply fascinating stuff. Yeah. Well, so and what company are you using to host your podcast? Have you figured out who your hosting provider will be?
I think about several, but I
Yeah.
I see well.
Yeah. The one that I'm using is called Spreaker. Spreaker is very accessible and very easy to use to upload material into the system. So I would say I would say that one. So anyway, Sarah, if you can ask me only one more question to really make me sweat, to see if I'm worth my salt as a podcaster, what do you want to ask me?
Um, I have not any questions in my mind.
That's
That's a
okay. It's okay. Totally okay. If someone wants to get in touch with you, if people have questions about you or if people have questions about your experience or your podcasting, at this moment in time, how would they get in touch with Sarah?
it's for privacy and for other reasons like stalking. I have many times when stalked with WhatsApp or my messenger is also um a thing that you can in touch with me.
Okay. All right. Well, I think you and I need to connect one-on-one on WhatsApp, and we need to exchange our Facebooks and need to get a little bit more connected like that, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Definitely. All right. Well, we'll talk about that. So click the link in the description for more for further information. Sarah, once again, I just want to say to you, thank you for taking the time out of your evening over there in Belgium to share a beautiful story, a sad story, a disturbing story, and a meaningful story. Thank you for helping people in your country with disabilities. Thank you for podcasting about criminology and psychology. And don't
You're
forget,
welcome.
thank you for eating chocolate, because chocolate plays an important role in the global economy. So you need to eat. So you just can't do this without chocolate, okay? After this, I'm probably going to go eat some pickles or go have some cheese and crackers and probably get a good drink of water and stretch my legs or something like that. But anyway, you are forever welcome here in the Aaron's Opinion podcasting community. As you learn more about the other creators around my network here at Aaron's Opinion, we'll definitely put you in touch with smart people, and we'll put you in touch with helpful people and the right people forever. So, Sarah, at this point, I want to say thank you so much. We will certainly be in touch later over on the WhatsApp. I wish you all the best of health, luck, and success with everything you do with your podcast today and for always. Thank you so much, Sarah. All right, we'll connect over on WhatsApp. And until then, help one person today, help 1 million people tomorrow. Wow. If you're still watching on YouTube, like the video, comment below, tickle the bell notification to know when we go live next right here on YouTube. Again, thank you, everybody. Thank you, Latabo. And thank you, Sarah, for taking the time out of your evening, whether it's in South Africa or Belgium or anywhere else in the universe. Thank you for joining us. All right. To both of you, we'll talk soon later today over on the WhatsApp. Until then, be well. I wish you, Sarah, again, all the health to you. Keep being successful, keep being well, and we'll keep in touch. Take care, everybody. Help one person today.